Well, there you are, and it's so good to see you, Hidden Nation. Welcome into the studio. You got Josh Cary here. It's your Hidden Entrepreneur. Hidden Nation, we have a very exciting conversation for you today. It's all about the children. And you know, personally, this really hits home because I have two adoring children. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son who I am going to play this episode for them because it is going to be that important. We're joined by our guest, Barbara J. Meredith, who is an author of a handful of books written specifically for children. Her most recent is called Daisy and Friends: What Happened to Yesterday? A COVID-19 story. And what Barbara has done is taken her curriculum. She's a preschool teacher for decades. And what she has done in the classroom, she teaches this Daisy and Friends curriculum, and she turned that into the book we're discussing today, all about COVID-19, because as we'll hear, she felt everything that the news talks to us about is designed for the adults. Who's explaining what happened to yesterday to the kids? Well, Barbara is here. Barbara, so good to have you talking about this important topic. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I really like the concept of taking what otherwise could be a complex and confusing topic, COVID-19, especially when we were in the thick of it. So you wrote this book while we were smack dab in the middle. Obviously, we didn't have the foresight to know how long it was going to last, but in 2020, 2021, we were still in the middle of it, and you wrote the book. What sparked the idea to say, you know what, I got to take care of the kids on this one and get them caught up?
Well, I have a granddaughter who at the time was about 3 years old, and she had no idea what was going on. So I was trying to get her to understand that it sounds like it's scary, a scary world right now, that you can't go out, you can't visit with friends, you can't even go to the market. So I was trying to bring it down, the news down to her level, because the news was always adult level. So the book actually starts off with definitions of the key words of the time. And it's the definition of COVID-19, pandemic, essential workers, and masks, because those were all new buzzwords that kids would think of in different descriptions than or not know what the definition actually was. So I broke it down. So COVID-19, I just wrote that it's just like the flu, only more serious, and very, very contagious. And it was not just our country, but it was all over the world. And basically the world just stopped.
So Daisy and Friends, if you look at the cover of this book, there's 3 dogs and a cat. So obviously you tell that, yeah, there it is right there on the screen. You write this book, and this whole curriculum was through the eyes of pets, but your pets, right? Why did you choose that route?
Well, it started with the first book, How to Stay Healthy. And I really didn't think it would be published at all. I wrote it to make it an easy learning tool for the teachers at my learning center. So instead of going through boxes and boxes of research, because I research everything, and I thought, well, why don't I just put it in a simple book form? If they want to do nutrition, there's a they're not real chapters, but there's a section on nutrition. There's a section on danger stranger. And then there's also parking lot safety and why we need seatbelts. And I thought it would be a fun idea to have my pets at the time act out the story so that the first book is actual photographs of my pets. Now, for Stranger Danger, I had someone pull up in a truck and the dog just went right up. She opened the door and went right up to the driver. And that was explaining why you shouldn't do that, because if you don't know the person, you need to wait until an adult says it's okay. So things like that, like brushing your teeth. I have photograph of the cat brushing her teeth with her actual toothbrush, but I'm holding the toothbrush, but so it took me over a year to actually fulfill all the illustrations because I had to follow these animals around while they're acting out, and they didn't always act out what I wanted them to.
Have you gotten any good feedback from parents, grandparents, or even the children that shows how effective your influence is?
Quite a bit of feedback.
Tell me your favorite.
Well, on my website, they're constantly leaving some kind of comments, and they're all been positive. So I think they're all my favorites because it's been over 10 years since I actually started writing. So there's quite a few comments.
Was there when you wrote your first book, was there ever a desire that you'd have several under your belt, or did you just think, let me do one and see what happens? Or did you say, you know what, I got a lot to say here?
Well, it was really, I should start from the beginning. My husband had pancreatic cancer, and he was in the hospital for months at a time, 6 months. And I would work for my 10 hours. Then I would drive 3 hours a day to visit him.
Mm.
And then I would come home. And on the nights when I was just too tired to make that long drive after work, I got bored. So I was putting the How to Stay Healthy book together just for curriculum. And then one night I decided, well, just for ha-has, let me send this book out and see what children's publisher would even be interested in something like this. And I sent them out to 5 publishers, and all 5 publishers accepted it.
Stop it.
And I was amazed because that I've always heard that you never get accepted. It takes years and years to get accepted. So I wasn't expecting anything. And when I did, I was just overjoyed and overwhelmed. So I decided to choose the publishing company that met my needs
There
instead
you
of
go.
meeting their needs.
Yeah, there's a bidding war.
Yes. And then not only that, but most publishers want you out there at book sales,
Mhm.
vendor fairs, libraries, schools. And with my husband, with the cancer, and he had that cancer for 4 years, I wasn't able to go out and do as much as most publishers wanted me to do. So I was very limited in time because I still had to work. I was his sole caregiver, and it was just a very busy time.
And yet you made it work. You made the choice, you put in the effort. So how did that first book go for you? It was a success, and then you said, well, I got more.
Yeah, and then I actually ended the book, the first book would say, oh, wait until you read the other adventures of Daisy and Friends. And I'm thinking, there's no adventures.
I
I
got
just thought that
nothing.
was a
There's nothing.
cute ending.
And then you wrote them.
And then I wrote them. And I wrote them out of necessity, really. I got after How to Stay Healthy, I wrote Rocky's New Friend, which is about bullying.
Oh, wow.
It teaches children to take on the bully on their own without adult supervision, where you turn the bully into your friend by standing up to this bully. Because most bullies, even in the adult workplace, are not very confident in themselves. So you can turn that around to your advantage by standing up to the bully and telling them, you don't scare me. You know, I don't care if you bully me, but I want to be your friend. You seem to be a nice person, so let's get together and see what happens.
These almost seem like lessons that many adults I know could stand also, right? These are
Yes, and then,
universal truths I'm gathering.
yes, in my research, found out, I discovered that there were quite a few incidents in the workplace of bullying. So I kind of worked that into my book for the kids, but it's all down to pre-K level so that they understand in their language how to do all these things.
So you have books for children generally in health and wellness. You've told us about brushing your teeth, about standing up to bullies, COVID-19. These all originate from your days in the classroom.
Yes, they do. Even the one that's Daisy and Friends outside our window. And this one was something I turned it into kind of like a game at the daycare. And when we were waiting for kids, the older kids to get off the bus, the school age for the afternoon program, I would ask them, what do you see outside? Do you think it's winter? Do you think it's spring? Do you think it's fall? Let's find out by looking out the window and describing what you can see. And that's how that book came about. And I turned it into a rhyming book, an rhyming early reader, so that it's easy to understand, but also easy for them to learn the words because it's very repetitious. What looking out our window, what do you see? It
Hmm.
starts every page. So that's how I thought would be good for an early reader. And Daisy and Friends waiting for the school bus. This is also another one that was a game at the Learning Center. Again, when the preschoolers are waiting for the after-school program, waiting for the bus to come, they're all excited. They were all lined up in front of the window. And I would ask them as a vehicle went by, because we were on a main road, was that the school bus? And they'll say, no, that was a car. And the next vehicle, was that the school bus? That's a garbage truck, you know? He getting kind of like a little irritated with me, but
But for the greater good, you had it. This
yes,
was your technique.
yes, it is. And that's how, and I turned it into a book using the exact same wording that we would use at the Learning Center.
It seems like you understand. We've heard over and over that when people are successful, they always draw it back to one teacher in their life that really made a difference. You have that awareness on the level of impact that people like you make.
Yeah, she was actually my third grade teacher. She spent a lot of time with me, helped me through all my learning issues, and So she would bring things down to my level. And that's where I learned to bring conversations down to a child's level.
You had, when you say learning issues in third grade, what was happening?
Reading and comprehension.
So you had to overcome things for yourself, and you did, and now you're paying it forward.
Right.
You're able to help kids succeed. You've made you're aware of some specific impact you've made on the people and community there.
Yes, that's what I've been trying to do.
You
Is to
spent
just
most of your time in what classroom was it?
uh, my learning center or okay, at my learning, I was actually head teacher director. So I spent a lot of time with the pre-K children, teaching them how to read, how to write. We had fourth graders on second grade reading levels,
Hmm.
and they could write all their letters and they could spell words. And that, so I spent a lot of time with them, not only the words, but the colors, shape, and everything that was necessary to get into the kindergarten program. And in fact, I would have the kindergarten teachers from in town come to the learning center and we would sit down and discuss a curriculum that they would like the kids to learn about. And it got after maybe a year or two, and all the kids that came to my learning center never went through the kindergarten screening because the teachers knew they know all that stuff.
Hmm.
So they would just come to the daycare and do it for the entire classroom that I had. So that saved them time, and they knew where these kids were academically before they even started to go to kindergarten.
When you were growing up, did you see this path for yourself?
No, I started out in life, health, and accident insurance, uh, car insurance, and then pensions. I used to do pensions. It was the furthest away from teaching on the spectrum that I could be. And then when I had my first child, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I would just teach in the curriculum that I knew, and so that he was well prepared. And then when my second child arrived, my first child was in kindergarten. So my second child, I had a lot of one-on-one time with him, and we went through the same thing.
Hmm.
And then people were looking for babysitters. And I said, yeah, just drop your kid off. That's fine. And I would teach them the curriculum. And then I eventually got into a Montessori school teaching and then a nursery school, and eventually opening up my own learning center.
Okay, so you said you went into the Montessori school, which seems like the first official, right, outside of your
Right.
living room teaching your kids and the kids you were babysitting for. So what was it? Just a matter of like you naturally doing it, you seeing the positive need and payoff and said, I kind of enjoy this.
Yes, that's the way it was. And I also was fitting the needs of these schools, pre-K schools, because they were looking for people to come in. And actually, I started off as a substitute because I had a friend that was working at the Montessori school, and she couldn't make it one day for whatever reason. And
For
I
whatever
took her
reason.
place for the day, and they hired me.
There you go. She couldn't make it for whatever reason, quote
Yeah.
unquote, because the universe apparently was like, we got to get Barbara in here somehow. Here, her. She can't make it today. Barbara in. Synchronicity, right? That's the
Right.
way it worked. She couldn't make it one day. You step in, and then from that moment, what happened?
Then I started working there full time and I was able to take my youngest son with me. So he got a very good start learning Montessori style learning,
And what's the
which
outcome
is,
today? Your students, your children. You have the outcome that shows what your influence does.
yeah, I have some of well, my original daycare kids from the Kids Express Learning Center are actual professionals now. There's one little girl that became an attorney. Others went into the medical field. So there was, excuse me, quite a few great outcomes from being able to teach these kids, and they were always the best in their classrooms because they got to learn early. And I also taught them, it was a mixture standardized teaching plus Montessori. Montessori is individual learning.
Mhm.
So if someone wasn't able to be on the same pace as another child, they would be taught two different ways. So I taught by individuals instead of groups.
What do we do about the children who are currently living their lives and they don't have a solid, influential teacher available? Where do they go from here?
To my books.
Fair.
Yeah, because that's was my curriculum, and they can learn different well, the most important to me is the nutrition. And that's as long as they have the proper nutrition, their bodies are able to develop the way it should be.
What does that look like, the perfect nutrition for a child?
Well, when I was researching, I had taken the food pyramid
Mhm.
and I broke it down. And then I even made dessert seem fun and healthy by saying instead of having just a cup of ice cream, why don't you put mixed fruit into a bowl and put yogurt on top? And that's a dessert that the kids liked. Because I tried them out and then daycare kids.
What do you feel is the state of our current education system?
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not just traditional teaching. I think there's so many people getting involved that they're in the education that they're forgetting to teach the basics. Now, all the kids, they don't even know how to write script. It's like a foreign language to them. And they should go back to just simple printing and writing and getting more creative writing too, because they should be teaching the kids how to be an individual and express themselves, not what they see on a computer screen. That it should be their own ideas. And I think the school systems have gotten away from that.
Speaking of computer screens, you have a stance of our screens, kids on screens. Forget about adults on our own
Right.
screens, but what do we make of the kids and their iPads, their phones
Well, they're
today?
actually in the classroom.
Yeah.
That their screen, it started as a whiteboard and now it's a computer screen. Well, first it was a chalkboard, then it went to a whiteboard, and now it's a computer screen. So you just show the curriculum that's being taught on a huge computer screen. And they need to get back to actual teaching and finding out the strengths and weaknesses of all these children to help them develop into a better adult.
Barbara J. Meredith, what is next for you? I'm sure you're not slowing down. Current book, Daisy and Friends. What happened to yesterday? A COVID-19 story. You have the next one lined up. Where are you going?
Actually, I have three
Three.
that I haven't published yet. One is called Smokie's New Necklace. It's about jealousy.
Wow.
And I wrote that one from observing my own dogs because I got Smokie the dog a new collar when we called it a necklace because she was female. And then our German Shepherd didn't get a new collar, went over to her and actually with his teeth unbuckled the collar and ran off with it.
What this happened?
This happened. And I thought, wow, that's one way of teaching kids about jealousy. So I wrote a whole book about it.
That is just incredible. I mean, a few things that dogs certainly display emotions, but you witnessed one dog. I mean, you witnessed in real time one dog experiencing jealousy of another. And then the fact that it was brought to you to say, oh, okay, got it. You guys are the stars of all my books. Now you've shown me what needs to be written next.
Yes. And then the next book is Grandpa's in the hospital. So when my husband was in the hospital for all those months, I noticed the grandchildren were kind of afraid of him because there he is lying in this strange room on a bed with all these machines. And they couldn't get really past the machinery to actually understand that's still Grandpa. So I wrote a book explaining what the machines do and how it helps them, but it's still your grandfather.
Wow. Barbara J. Meredith. The book is Daisy and Friends. What Happened to Yesterday? A COVID-19 story. Pick it up right now, Hidden Nation, along with the entire series. And Barbara is not slowing down, so you'll be able to keep feeding you, your family, your children with this incredible lessons and stories that we all need. Barbara, thank you kindly for doing the work, for educating us on this great big scale. I wish you all the continued success.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you again for having me on. I really enjoyed the time together.
I did too. And I'm sure you did as well, Hidden Nation. Just feel good about the work you're putting out there for you, your world, the children, and everybody in between. Thank you so much for investing your time today. We're going to do this again before too long. Until we meet again, take care. Be well.
Thank you.